Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin, he had a stern warning. This as the Justice Department launches an investigation into companies applying for loans through an SBA program meant to help small businesses amid this COVID pandemic. So far, nearly $2 billion has been approved in the program's second round, with the average loan totaling just over $109,000. California, by the way, has received the most in loans, while Texas has the highest number of loans approved. Let's bring in Gene Marks. He is a CPA for the Marks Group and a small business consultant. So, Gene, let's start with some of these stats. Again, you've got 1.6 million eligible businesses have received loans so far. Again, you've got $85.4 billion having been doled out. The average loan, as I said, $109,500. But still, so many small business owners, Gene, have trouble getting their loans. But first, those who have gotten the loans, should they be concerned about forgiveness if they've received money through the PPP?
So first of all, Arthel, let's just talk about the business owners that are still waiting for their loans. If you are still waiting for your loan and you've already applied for a loan, you're going to have to follow up tenaciously with your financial lender, and you might want to also consider applying elsewhere. You can make multiple applications for the loans. Even if the loans get approved, it'll be matched to your federal ID number, and then you'll only get that one loan. You can't have more than one loan, but you should be keeping all your options open and being really close, because right now my reports from the Small Business Administration, Arthel, is that things are really backed up there, and they're trying very, very hard to balance the number of applications coming from big banks and small banks, as well as financial online lenders as well. So stick in there. As you just said, Arthel, there's like $80 billion have been given out. There's $310 billion available. So there's still a ways to go. So, you got to make sure that if you're in the queue there, you follow up with your bank. So that's number one. To answer your question, though, that you asked about, should small business owners be concerned about forgiveness of their loans? No, you shouldn't be concerned about getting forgiveness for your loan that if you have received a Paycheck Protection loan, if you are abiding by the rules. And the rules are this, Arthel: once you get your loan, and if you do, congratulations, over the next 8 weeks, you need to be spending that on payroll, which is the pay of your employees, group health insurance premiums, retirement benefits, state payroll taxes, all that stuff. You can then apply after those 8 weeks back to your financial lender and ask for forgiveness. And as long as you are, again, you have been affected by COVID-19, you're keeping good records and good documentation, you're using the money for your payroll, you can not only get forgiveness for that, but also you'll be able to get some forgiveness for some of your rent and utilities and mortgage interest as well. Obviously, there are some restrictions that are out there, but I think what the Treasury is telling people right now is, listen, if you're a bigger company, a publicly held company, and you've got other sources of capital, you might want to double think before you're going after money that should be going to small businesses that could really use the money. And if you've borrowed more than $2 million, well, you're allowed to borrow up to $10 million, but even $2 million, that's a lot of money, and you might very well be eligible for that, but the Treasury is going to take a closer look. The lion's share of small businesses that are out there, though, that are applying for the loans, as long as you're abiding by these rules, you should be fine. And one final thing, Arthel, remember, if you're borrowing this money, again, if you've gotten approval, that's fantastic news, but you're working with your bank now, your lender. So you're going to have a promissory note with your lender. Read the agreement carefully before you sign it. Don't just grab the money. Make sure you understand all the ways that you can get forgiveness, so you can be tracking those numbers carefully and then apply for forgiveness. You don't want to get into a shouting match with your bank or financial institution in July or August when you're going to be applying for forgiveness. So, long answer to a short question. I'm sorry, but I just want to get that out there.
Well, first of all, let me jump off where you just left off, which is this fine print you're talking about. That concerns me, because that's the problem. These loans should be easy to apply for, easy to obtain, easy to understand. So that small print you're talking about, does it vary from bank to bank? And really, how can you get trapped up?
Right. So it shouldn't vary from bank to bank. The banks have been given specific guidelines to follow when they give their promissory notes. But, Arthel, in the end, and if you're a small business owner watching this, just remember, you're getting a loan from a bank that's backed by the federal government. So you're not borrowing from the federal government, you're borrowing from a bank. And the banks will have a promissory note, which is standard operating procedure for any loan that you get. And as a business owner, we've all got, me as well, we have responsibilities to read that agreement and make sure we understand what's in it. There's not fine print, as you said.
I get that, wait, I have to stop for a second because I get that. But this is something that is implemented by the federal government in order to help the people who own small businesses who need to get this money to keep their employees on the payroll, to keep their businesses open through this, and hopefully we can get through this soon so they can get back to work full time. So my point is, this is what I'm talking about, Gene. I mean, you told me you met with the folks in the Trump administration who are working very hard to make sure this money, along with Congress, to make sure this money gets to these people who need it by way of these banks. But shouldn't they give the bank guidelines? They can't tell a bank what to do. I get it. It's a private institution. But shouldn't they make sure that the bank is not including too much bureaucracy and too much red tape that could actually trip up these business owners?
Yeah, I don't think that's the case, Arthel. At least, I mean, I've looked at a number of these promissory notes. They are all the same. They are following the guidelines issued by the Treasury Department. They're really under the instructions, the banks, as to what should be in these promissory notes. But just remember, it's still a promissory note. And again, if you're borrowing the money, you want to make sure that you understand the terms of any borrowing agreement that you have. And most importantly, Arthel, when you look at this promissory note, there will be a section that will say, here are the terms for forgiveness when you submit to us for your payroll and utilities and other expenses. Those terms are exactly the terms that are being consistent with what the Treasury Department has said. But my advice to you as a business owner, just make sure you understand those. That's all.
Bottom line, last question. I've got to go quickly if you can.
Sure.
Are there clear instructions on a government website that say, if you are looking to go for one of these loans, here's what you should make sure you have: A, B, C, and D, and don't do 1, 2, 3, and 4?
That is such a great question, and the answer is absolutely yes. If you want the clearest of instructions, go to the Treasury Department's website. You cannot get more authoritative than that. There is a link right on their homepage for small business owners where to go for relief, and they have all the documentation, including what documents and receipts that you'll need to submit, as well as instructions for filing for a Paycheck Protection Program loan. That's where I am pointing all of my followers, all of my clients to. Because, again, you can't get any more authoritative than that. It's on the Treasury Department's website. Just Google it, and it'll come right up.
At Gene Marks, there you are. Thank you very much, as always, sir. We'll see you again.
Thanks, Arthel. Stay well.